Do this. Looks like my mic is working. Wonderful. Oh wait, I want to share it because I already. Okay. Let me pull up my notes. That's not the one I'm looking for. Okay, here we are. Yes, great. Okay. Don't know if anyone is on yet or not, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. It's me, Malika or Mickey Jabri. Before we get into our topic for today, just a few different things that I just want to share with you guys. I have I started, I made a little investment, and got my own equipment. So that's what I'm using right now. I'm in a different room. It's more private. There's nobody like peeking in, or you can't really hear anybody else who may be recording or doing whatever. So that's great. I don't have to borrow equipment anymore. So I got a vlogger kit. So it's a tripod. It comes with a microphone. It comes with a light. I'm not using the light because this room already has lights set up. So that's great. Love that for me. Second, I did a little name change. Instead of Mickey J, I kind of extended it, Mickey Jabri. Jabri is my middle name. It means wise one, and I really like it. And I feel like enough people don't hear it enough, so I just want to. It's my way of sharing it with the world. Excuse me. Funny story. I have two funny stories for y'all actually. So first, on the way here, I was commuting on the train, had my music on, was minding my business, and y'all know I'm an introvert. My sister Avery, I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. If you can hear me, let me know. I'm using new equipment, so it's my first time using it. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me. But yeah, thank you. So, I was on the train. I'm an introvert. I got my AirPods in. I'm minding my business. And I saw in my peripheral somebody standing over me, or standing next to me, and they weren't moving. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody's going to talk to me. And over my music, I hear somebody saying, excuse me. And I'm like, oh gosh. I immediately thought it was a crackhead or something like that. But it was a girl, asking for money. Fine, whatever. But my issue was she touched me. And I'm like, I wanted to scream. I didn't, but I really wanted to. Because you see me mind my business, so don't talk to me. And second, don't touch me. Please don't touch me. But anyway, second funny story. While I was writing my notes or whatever this morning, and as you can see, the title is Know When to Go. And I type fast, so sometimes I type the wrong letters. So I had to go back and fix it because instead of the G, I pressed the H. So it said know when to hoe. And I'm like, oh no, we're not teaching nobody how to do that. It is know when to go. So, sorry, I'm turning on Do Not Disturb because I keep getting notifications. I don't like that. So there we are. Good. So, anywho, that brings us to today's episode. First of all, I am excited. I'm so excited to be back. I'm excited to be able to share with you guys again. I'm excited. I'm just excited. Really excited. We did take a small hiatus because we were just me and my co-host were just going through transitions. My friend Tanasia, my co-host, she's in school. She also started a new job. I started a new job. So I'm back in food service for now until I start my actual career. I'm back in food service. So if you know anything about that field, your schedule can be a little wonky. It's hard to get a set schedule. And since I just started, of course, I don't have a set schedule yet. So it was kind of hard to find like a day and a time, but we're here. We are here. The day and time might not be consistent like it was before, but we're going to keep recording. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep sharing. We're going to keep talking, because this is most definitely something that I know was meant for me to do. I know someone needs to hear these messages, whether they get on now, whether they watch later, doesn't matter. So yeah, I had to correct myself, because I know the previous post said season 2 premiere, but we did a little pivot. Instead of seasons, we're going to do series. Those who go to church, y'all already know how series works. A pastor, they pick a topic and they talk about it for a certain amount of time. It could be 5 weeks, it could be 15 weeks, it could be, however many parts of a series is necessary until they've shared everything that they have and everything that they want to share on this topic. So, Aubrey, hi! Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you virtually. So good to see you. Thank you for joining. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I wasn't sure who was going to be, available at noon on a Friday, but here we are, and we're moving. So, the first series that we're doing, it's called the Seasons series. So, that's what we're going to be talking about, all different aspects of seasons in your life. Today, we're talking about knowing when to go, which is basically knowing when a season is up in your life, when a season is over. Some people know, some people don't know, but that's why we're here, to help, for those who don't know, and to, I guess, maybe confirm anyone who may be wondering, maybe, I don't know, share information, whatever you're here for. I hope that you get what you need. So yeah, let's get into it. Y'all know it, if anyone has watched previous episodes, y'all know that I love a definition. So I looked up the definition of a season, what a season is. And I wrote down the ones that kind of stuck out to me. So there's 2 archaic definitions of a season. Excuse me. The first one is a proper or suitable time. The second archaic definition is an indefinite or unspecified period of time. So, it's pretty self-explanatory, but, it kind of goes with, I found a scripture that kind of goes with seasons. I'm going to pull that up really quick. It is, turn with me in your Bibles to Ecclesiastes 3, verses 1 through 8. I'm going to pull it up really quick on my Bible app. Thank God for multiple devices. We're believing God for a MacBook soon. That's coming soon. But in the meantime, not Ephesians, girl, come on. Ecclesiastes. There we are. 3. All right. So, I'm gonna take my time with this whole series. One, because I got this room booked for 2 hours, and there's no rush. I just feel like there could be a lot to unpack here. So, Ecclesiastes 3, verses 1 through 8. I'm gonna go ahead and read it. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. So, that I feel like that explains seasons, and it goes along with the first two definitions very well. The third definition of a season that I found is the time of year when a particular fruit or vegetable or other food is plentiful and in good condition. So, in some similes to season is available or obtainable. So, as we all know, I'm pretty sure we all know, we go through seasons in life. Things come, things go, people come and people go. But if you're anything like me, you kind of like when something or someone is good, you kind of want to hold on to it. But we can't always do that. Not all the time. Like, there are times when a thing or a person is in your life only for a season. Maybe to teach you a lesson, or maybe for you to teach them a lesson. You never know. But the key to this and everything in life is, of course, a prayer life, having a relationship with God, and just allowing Him to speak to you and to kind of let you know when that season is up, or that sometimes He'll let you know, like, that you're going into something for a season. Like, He did that with me with my current job. I know that I'm only going to be there for a season. Not sure how long that season is going to be, but I know I'm there for a purpose. He told me what the purpose was, and I was like, okay, cool. So, like, he told me after I applied. No, I applied. I interviewed. They actually it's funny. They told me at the interview that they weren't hiring at the time, and I'm like, that's cap, because for two reasons. Because my thing is, if you weren't hiring, why are you, like, what's the point of interviewing if you're not hiring? And two, my best friend and brother works there. He's the one who told me about the job in the first place. So, and he told me that they needed help. So I'm like, okay. And then, again, actually before my interview, God told me that He was going to be sending me there for a reason. So great. I'm like, okay, great. I'm at a place right now where, God and I, God is speaking to me, like, we're like speaking to each other, communicating, and He's giving me instructions, clear instructions, and I'm so grateful for that. Because He doesn't speak to everybody, but that's another topic for another day. But yeah, even though they told me in the interview that, they weren't hiring, literally a few days later, they called and was like, oh, a position opened up. I'm like, of course it did, because it's been open. But, I'm there now. There's good days, bad days, ups and downs, but I keep in mind, I keep reminding myself that I'm there for a reason. And, on those hard days, on the days when I'm uncomfortable, on the days when I'm not happy, on the days when I leave frustrated, I just remember I'm there for a reason. So, that's one example of, seasonal things. There's seasonal things, seasonal people in our lives. And just knowing when to go. Like, what are the signs? What are the signs of knowing when to go? I would say, well, for me, sometimes, I get uncomfortable. Or I start to feel stagnant. Like I've literally been in this place for too long. So the signs will come and the signs will show. You just have to really you just have to pay attention. Be mindful of, like, if it's a person, be mindful of how you feel when you're around this person. Like, if your feelings change, or if the situation changes, or if the person themselves changes, that could be a sign. Like, maybe it's just an issue in your relationship and you need to fix it and move on. But there's other times when that's a sign that maybe their season is coming to a close. You just never know. So, I was like kind of thinking about this topic, and it reminded me, my husband Michael, he taught Bible study this past Tuesday, and he was talking about the difference between being in place and just being present. I believe that's what he said. When you're in place, you're in the right place at the right time. Like the scripture said, to everything there is a season. And I'm sure we've all heard that there's a time and a place for everything. So like if you're, and this is just a random, like if you're at a wedding and the singer starts singing something like soon and very soon we're going to see the king. What? Like that's not the time or the place to be singing something like that. And there's been several times I've been to funerals and they sing things and I'm like, oh God, like can you not sing that here? People are mourning, people are grieving. I don't think that's the appropriate song. And growing up in church, being in church, praise and worship is the perfect example of a time and a place. Like worship leaders, musicians, creatives in general have to be sensitive to the spirit. You have to be, you have to know like the flow of the service. You have the move of God, of what's going on, because there's a time and a place for everything. If we are worshiping, like if we're like just soaking in God's presence, okay, I'm not gonna get up and sing "Stomp" by Kirk Franklin. We're not stomping right now. No, like we're not stomping right now. I would sing something like, bow down and worship him. Something like, like something that will, keep us in that realm and in that space. And vice versa. You have to know when that time is up. You have to know when to shift. You have to know when to adjust, when to pivot. There's been several times when I've had to dance and I have a song in mind, but then I get to the service and God moves in a different way and gives me actually the last time I danced, it happened to me. Like service had already started. And God gave me a new song just like that. And I still ministered, and I do believe it was effective. And I do believe he was pleased. But that's why you have to be open. And that's just in life, period. You have to be open to anything that may happen. I'm the type of person, I'm a planner. I like to plan things. But I also keep in mind that even though I have a plan, literally anything else can happen. You just never know. You could be thrown off course, you could be thrown off pace, and it's okay. I have learned how to pivot. I've learned how to kind of go with the flow. Even though I have this plan, and I'm also the type of person, I don't like surprises. I tell my husband Michael all the time, I don't like surprises. He does not care. He does not care at all. He has been surprising me since we started dating. He's been surprising me over and over, and it's been, it'll be on the 27th. We will have been together for 6 years, so yay. Very excited, very happy for that. Good for us. This is officially the longest relationship I've ever been in, and the best relationship I've ever been in. So yeah, I'm happy, good vibes there. Excuse me. But yeah, getting back into it. So the last definition, that kind of stuck out to me. The time of year when a particular fruit or vegetable or other food is plentiful and in good condition. So we all know there's 4 seasons in a year: winter, summer, spring, fall. That's not the right order, but wait, or is it? No, it's not. It's not. But y'all know the 4 seasons. Y'all know them. There's 4 seasons in a year. And if you know anything about produce, there are certain fruits and vegetables that thrive during a certain time of year. So, or there's certain food, like I'm a foodie. So, like I love food, I love coffee, things like that. I am a pumpkin spice girl. Okay? Like I was still drinking pumpkin spice in like January, February. Okay? Like I was drinking pumpkin spice until Dunkin' took it off the menu. Okay? But it kind of like it kind of goes with what we're talking about today, because like I'm looking for pumpkin spice stuff, and my friends are like, girl, it's February. And I'm like, so like I believe that pumpkin spice is like a year-round flavor, but whatever, it's not. Technically it's not. But yeah, there's certain fruits and vegetables and plants that thrive during certain times of year, during a certain season. Those who farm, there's the sowing and reaping in the natural and the spiritual. When people who farm, they have to be aware of the seasons. They have to be aware of the atmosphere. Like today, before I left the house, I walked my dog this morning. It was clear. I leave back out later to come here, and it's raining. I was just like, what in the world? All I had on was a hoodie. I had on my hoodie, but it's like 50 degrees. But I had on my hoodie, and I was like, oh shucks. I had to grab an umbrella. So, and I have the weather like on my watch. So I did see that it was gonna rain, but only for like around 11. But it's all good. But being aware, it's important to be aware of the atmosphere around you. And it's important to know that like when you're in a certain season, you have to be aware of the atmosphere that you're in, because there's some atmospheres that are not conducive to the season that you're in. And on a personal level, that's kind of where I'm at in life. I have had to adjust and change who I spend the majority of my time with, because the season that I'm in right now, I can't do the things I used to do. To be completely transparent, I have friends who they like to go to the bar. That's their thing. That's what they do. They go to the bar and they drink. And some of these people I work with, so after work, we would go to the bar, get a few drinks, but mind you, we will be getting off at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, staying at the bar till 2 in the morning, and then I'm getting home at like 3, and it's like I can't do this. Like the last time I came home, I was so tired. Y'all, I'm 31 now, and that's not old, but I'm not in my 20s anymore. Like in that aspect, I'm not as young as I used to be. I can't go out and be out all night, and I have a husband at home who waits on me to get home. He's worried about my safety. I can't do that anymore. And then spiritually, where I'm at in life, I just can't, I just can't. I can't. And for a while, there was a frustration that was building in me, like literally a frustration. And I'm just like, this is not fun anymore. I don't like this anymore. Like, this is not. And I was frustrated because at the time, those were the only people that I was spending my time with. But luckily, I've reconnected with some more positive people. Not that they're bad people. They're not. They're great. It's just they, in my opinion, they drink a little too much. But that's them. I just knew I couldn't do it anymore. With this, it's not, like I said, it's not conducive to the season that I'm in. So, at first, I would kind of like get offended when they would make plans without me, wouldn't include me, they would go out without me. It kind of hurt my feelings because I'm still your friend and I do still want to spend time with you. That's one of my love languages, is quality time. So I do still want to spend time with y'all. I just don't want to do that. So, I would make suggestions like, oh, let's go to the museum, let's check out this exhibit, there's this place, this, that, and the third. They don't want to do that. Okay, fine. That now I'm just like, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. So, like literally tonight, I'm going to get revolving sushi with a whole other group of friends. I haven't seen them in the longest, haven't talked to them in the longest. Like, we're all in a group chat. The group chat has been going crazy. I'm so excited to see them. But we're going to get together, catch up, have fun, have good vibes, everything like that. So yeah, you just have to be mindful. Be mindful of the company that you keep, the atmosphere that you're in. Hey, Sincere, and hey, Atalia, and everyone else who's tuning in. I'm not ignoring. I do see y'all. I see y'all. Sorry, I do see y'all. And absolutely, we have to know where we are. Absolutely, and that can be in any aspect. Like, one of the topics that's part of this series, I'll give y'all a little preview. It's called Know Thyself. You have to know yourself, know where you are, like, in life, in your walk with Christ, in your spiritual journey, like any kind of journey. You have to know where you are. You have to be honest with yourself too. If you knowing your weaknesses, knowing your strengths, knowing where you need work, and knowing where you need to improve. But we will talk about that when that topic comes up. But yeah, like, and being aware. Like, I keep my head on swivel. Even when it seems like I'm not paying attention, like, I'm very quiet and I'm very observant. So I'm paying attention to what's going on around me. If I have my AirPods on, I have to make sure I'm looking around. If I'm walking by myself, I'll turn around a few times, see if anybody's behind me, see who's next to me, paying attention to those things. And it's the same thing in life. You have to be aware, you have to be cognizant of what's going on in your personal life. And you have to know, like, when something has run its course. Sometimes you can tell, and sometimes you can't. Normally when something or someone has run its course in your life, there's a lot of negative feelings. Your feelings towards that thing or person could change. Like for me, I was just like, going to the bar is just not fun for me anymore. I want to go on adventures. I was expressing to some of my coworkers the other day, I want to go on adventures. I don't want to sit in a bar with drunk people and strange people that I don't know. I'm an introvert, so I don't do that anyway. Like, like the last time we went, I was just sitting there just like, they kept telling me to fix my face, and I'm like, but there's weirdos in here. Like, I didn't really enjoy it. So revolving sushi it is. Like, I like those things. I might go I'm over here by the Banksy exhibit. I might go check that out. I have a friend who works over there, so I might go see that. But yeah, like, seasons, they change, they come and they go. And you just have to, for me, it's about being open to, what's going on, like, what's going on in the atmosphere. So yeah, I was also reminded, when Michael was teaching Bible study on Tuesday, he used the example of the fig tree. Good afternoon, Pop. My godfather is on. So good to see you. Excuse me, sorry. And good afternoon to everyone else who is tuned in. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me. But Michael used the example of, I believe it was a fig tree. Jesus was hungry, and he went to grab a fig off the tree, and there was nothing there. And he ended up cursing the tree, and it ended up, like, withering up. He went on his way, came back, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he went on his way and came back, and when they did, they noticed that not only was the tree gone, it had withered up from the root. So, it's I I believe it was the time, like, that tree was supposed to be producing. It was supposed to be producing. It was supposed to provide nourishment for Jesus or anyone else who may have been coming by, but it wasn't. And that's really unfortunate. Like, I would hate to be in the right place at the right time and not producing. Like, what in the, like, how crazy does that sound? Like, I mean, I would hate that. I would hate to be in the right place at the right time and still not producing. And that's why you have to be aware. That's why you have to be cognizant. That's why you have to know when it's time to let go of certain things and certain people. And even if it's someone who you're close to, if it's someone who you love, if it's something that you like, something, like, of course we want to keep a good thing going, but if it's not conducive to the season that you're in, sorry, it has to go. Or at least there needs to be distance put between you and that thing, or you and that person. And when it comes to people, it's best to be around people who also understand where you are in life. There's some people, me personally, it's not always easy to explain my life to people. With me being born and raised in the church, still in the church, I'm now an ordained minister. I am the wife of an elder, pastor in training. Everyone doesn't understand that. Everyone doesn't know what that is. And I've found myself having to explain to people, or kind of like put things in layman's terms, if that makes sense, for them to understand. And it's fine, I don't mind it, but I don't, this is gonna sound harsh, but I don't always have time to stop and explain every single thing that's going on in my life. Like, it's like the girls that get it, and the girls that don't. Sometimes it's just like that. If you know, you know. And if you don't, there's a time and a place where we can sit and I can explain to you what's going on in my life, why I'm moving this way, why I'm not going here anymore, why I'm not doing this anymore. But for right now, just know, yeah, I gave that up. Yes, I stopped doing that. No, I do not talk to that person anymore. No, I don't do that anymore. No, you will not see me here anymore. I'll explain why later. But it's like, when you're moving, you gotta move. Sometimes you just have to keep moving. It's kind of like the unspoken rule with black people. If you see one black person running, you run too. Like, that's what I do. It's the unspoken rule. If I see somebody running, especially a person of color, I'm running too. And when we finish running, when we get to safety, then we can talk about, okay, why was you running? So what happened? There's actually a clip on that too. Sometimes it's just not their business. Like, I'm coming right back to that. But there's this funny clip on that I saw on social media. It's a preview from the show Harlem. There was this girl, one of the girls, her phone was dying. It was on 4%. She needed to get to a charger, so she's like, oh shucks, and she starts running. All these other people see her running and start running with her. And the funniest part for me was some girl was just like, oh, we running, and just took off with everybody else. Next thing you know, she's running with her phone in her hand, and there's a whole crowd of people running with her. So that was just really funny to me. But yeah, that's another thing. Sometimes it's not people's business what's going on, because like there's people who legitimately don't know, but then there's some people who they don't understand and they don't want to. So if you're choosing ignorance, okay, go ahead. You choose ignorance, fine, whatever. But yeah. So I I personally am a very private person. Um I am transparent and I share things when I feel it's necessary, but for the most part I'm pretty private. I don't share too much voluntarily. I mean, if you ask, then sure. I'll tell maybe I might tell you. But if I feel like you just being nosy, nah. But excuse me. Back to seasons. Um a lot of times I feel like when a season is up in your life, there's a frustration. You know, you kind of feel stagnant. You kind of feel like I've been here for too long. And it most most times if you feel like you've been somewhere too long, you have. It's time to move. And you know, some of us, we know it's time to move. We know it's time to move on. We know it's time to let go. We know it's time to do all the things so that we can actually prosper and go where God wants us to go. But we're stubborn sometimes. You know, there's people and things that we don't want to let go of. But listen, the way of a transgressor is hard. And if you think you're frustrated now, keep keep delaying. Like keep putting that off. Like keep fighting against what you know you're supposed to be doing. Keep running. That's frustration right there. That's real frustration. Knowing you're supposed to be somewhere else. But when you finally realize that it's you holding up your own progress, yeah, that's frustration right there. Really frustrated. And it's just a matter of, and it is easier said than done because I'm personally still going through it. You know, but it's a daily. Sometimes you have to take it moment by moment if you're anything like me. Like sometimes taking it day by day is too overwhelming for me, so I kind of have to break it down. So like it's like, I'm gonna be straight up honest, I recently gave up drinking. Hi, Rondana. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so glad you're here. So very glad you're here. Also, I plan on coming to your conference. I already requested off. So, and I'm about to register too. So, really excited. Um, so yeah, I recently gave up drinking. So, like, for good this time. There's been several times where I'm just like, yeah, I'm done, and I wasn't really done. But now I'm like, yeah, I'm done. This is not it. This is not the move. Like, and just for several reasons. Naturally, I'm not young I'm not as young as I used to be. I keep saying I'm not young anymore. I am still young, but I'm not as young as I used to be. You know, I can't be throwing back shots and thinking I'm gonna show up to work the next morning, you know, on 10. No, absolutely not. And it's just honestly and this is just my opinion. Honestly, it's not cute. Like, for me to be 31 at a bar, sloppy drunk, that's not cute. It's not cute. Like, not to me. It's just, nah. It's not cute. And then, like, you know, I know that I'm meant to be an example to my peers. I'll just let you guys in on a conversation God had with me. The reason that I'm at my job, he told me that, you know, I'm there for a purpose. The purpose is to be an example to my peers, to show them how, like, his power in someone's life, how he can transform someone. As I said before, my best friend works there, and he's been my best friend for 2 going on 3 years, and he's witnessed my transformation firsthand. It has not been easy. I have fallen many times. I have messed up many times. I am so far from perfect. And, you know, sometimes I struggle. Some days are good, some days are bad, but God is transforming me. He's working on me. And that's the season that I'm in right now. And again, it's not always easy to explain these things to him and to others, and but I do my best. I do my best to kind of like explain where I am and what's going on and things like that. Um, but yeah, that's the season that I'm in. So I'm in a season of being, I'm being aware of who I spend my time with. Um, I'm an introvert and a homebody, but I'm trying to change that because isolation is not good for me. Like I'm realizing that I do need community. It does take a village. Um and there are some things, a lot of things that I just can't do on my own. That's just the simple truth. Hey, Mom Linda, and thank you so much for your encouragement. Um yeah. So there's some things that I can't do on my own. Sometimes I need community. Sometimes I need, and I'm learning because I wasn't I wasn't the type of person who would reach out for help. Instead of reaching out, I would kind of isolate. I would withdraw. I actually I'm gonna tell myself, actually last week, like for about a whole week, I didn't reach out to anybody. Like I just wasn't talking to anyone. I needed to talk to someone, but I felt alone. I felt isolated. I felt alone, so I was like, well, I may as well just be alone. And absolutely right. None of us should be alone. None of us should be alone. And you know, even and I'm fortunate to have an amazing, great, supportive husband, but sometimes I need more than that. Like sometimes I need that group, that safe space. And for me, that's changed. And it's okay. At first I was really I guess fearful, because I was like, okay, well, if I'm not supposed to be around them, then who? If not them, then who? And I felt like I was going to be out here by myself, but luckily I do have a community of people who love me and are probably just like waiting on me to reach out anyway, but we're working on that. um so seasons, when they do come to a close, sometimes you have to take time to to mourn the loss, kind of, sort of. Yeah, sometimes you have, especially if it's something or someone that has been a part of your life for so long. If it's something you've been doing for so long, let's keep it a buck real quick. Some of the stuff that we were in, that we used to do, we liked it, we enjoyed it. Why do you think we did it for so long? Like, we liked it, we enjoyed it, and now that we have to give it up, it's like, dang. It's like, I know it's for a greater purpose, but dang, I have to stop. Like, really, I really have to give it up. And there are parts of you, parts of us, that have to die. In a spiritual sense, for us who have a purpose and a calling. Well, we all have a purpose and a calling, but for those of us who have chosen to submit to God and surrender to Him, there's parts of us that have to die. Me personally, I have recently fallen in love with the altar. Okay? Like, I have fallen in love with the altar and with prayer again, because from the very beginning, the purpose of the altar, what happens at the altar, is death. Something's going to die at the altar. And that's, back in the olden days when they used to sacrifice animals, when we go to the altar to pray, it's not the same, for me, it's not the same prayer as when I wake up in the morning, like, oh, thank you for waking me up, and I pray that you be with me, make me aware of your presence, God. Like, no. I'm not saying that at the altar. The altar is a place of death. So something in you has to die. Some things in your life have to die. And what happens when someone or something dies? There's grief attached to it. So when someone or something you love dies, you're not happy about it. You're sad. So what do? You mourn that loss. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing in us. The things in us that have to die, the things in our life that had to die. Listen, it is okay to mourn the loss of those things. It's actually helpful if you take that time to mourn the loss and accept the fact this is gone. This part of me is gone. It's not coming back. I loved it. I loved that version of me. I loved that thing I used to do. I loved that person that I used to mess around with, like whatever it is. Okay, yes, you loved it, you enjoyed it, but it's gone now. And it's not, and yeah, you're gonna miss it, especially if you enjoyed it. Like, you're gonna miss it. So take that time to mourn. Like me personally, I literally wrote an obituary for my old self in my old life. Literally I wrote it out. I wrote my old self died this day, 2023, like the date, the time, everything. I had to take that time to mourn it, because some things you can't just quit cold turkey. Some things you can't just get up and walk away from. You know, it's not like an unfinished plate of food. Well, I'm not walking away from that, but you know, it's not that simple. That's my point. The point is, it's not that simple. Sometimes it is not that simple to just get up and walk away. So, you know, and just use that analogy of like a natural death. Like if you lose something, like just say you lose I don't know, one of your belongings. Like my first pair of AirPods, I lost one of them, so I had to get a new pair. Like, I didn't mourn the loss of it, but you kind of get my drift. But yeah, taking that time to mourn the old. If you take the time to mourn the old and just kind of like accept that, get that closure, it frees you up to embrace the new. That's what it does. It frees you up to embrace the new. Like, because if you're carrying old things, like right now, I got pretzels before I came here. I haven't finished them yet. Like, if I leave here and wanna, I don't know, go to Starbucks or something, if I leave here and I'm carrying this strawberry lemonade and my pretzel, what am I gonna do at Starbucks? Like, if I want to go to Starbucks and I still have this in my hand, like, I have to get rid of it. I have to put it down. I have to leave it behind. If I want something else, I have to leave the old thing behind. And you know, it's necessary. You have to do what's necessary when you're in that transition, when that season is up. It can be painful. It can be very painful. It can be very almost traumatic. Almost. Well, no, I'm not going to call it traumatic. But it can be painful. It can be hard. You know, but it's something that you most definitely can get through. For sure. So, if you're in transition, if there's a season ending for you, there is a silver lining. Excuse me. Especially if you're in God, because once you free yourself up and rid yourself of those old things and old people and you get into a new environment, then you can thrive. God will fill you with what you need. If it's not already in you, actually, it is already in you. That can now be activated. That can now be nurtured. You have space for that to grow. Because each and every one of us are vessels. We are vessels. So when we empty out, when we pour out, we have the ultimate replenisher. Like, we have God who will replenish, who will refill, and the things that are already in us, since we are vessels, we can now nurture that and allow it to grow. I'm seeing it visually right now, like kind of like a plant, like a pot. Like, if you're like a potted plant, if the old plant dies, you go ahead and take it up from the root, and now you have space, you have fresh soil, so now a new plant can grow and thrive and be nurtured, and now you have something new and beautiful in its place. So that's the great thing. My godmom is on. Hi, Mom Angie, and thank you so much. I'm glad y'all are enjoying this. I should start going live here now. Like, maybe, you know what, because I was gonna go live from the Have a Little Talk page, but it wasn't working, so that's why I went live here. So, again, for a reason, knowing when to pivot. So I'm super, super grateful. So yeah, like, seasons, when seasons are changing, it's not always comfortable, it's not always enjoyable. Like, just the other day, I was journaling about the transition that I'm in, and I was just like, yeah, I don't like this. I was telling God, I told God out straight up, like, yeah, I don't like this. I'm not feeling this. I'm uncomfortable. You know, sometimes, like, honestly, sometimes at work, I feel isolated because I know that I'm different, and I know that, but again, I know that I'm here for a purpose. I know that I'm there for a purpose and for a reason. And sometimes I forget. Sometimes, I get caught up in my little feelings and I forget. But I remind myself I'm there for a reason. And I also have to remind myself to get out of my head, because sometimes, the way people react and things like that, I take it personally. But it's like, no, it's not personal. We're at work. Like, we're literally trying to get a job done. But it's all good. It is all good. And there is going to be another episode about embracing the new season. But since we're talking about knowing when to go, we're talking about letting go of the old season, letting go of old people. And ooh, it's about to get a little deep, maybe, probably. Letting go of people is not always easy to do. And letting go of people who don't want to leave, that's a struggle. That's a struggle in itself. Like, it's bad enough you're battling with yourself, letting this person go, and then you finally make the decision, and then they don't want to go. They keep popping up. They keep reaching out and things like that. Like, that's tough. That's really hard. And, changing your environment is not always easy. Like, sometimes you'll kind of almost feel like Abraham. Like, Abraham had to just up and leave. Didn't know where he was going. Had no direction. It's just God told him to go. And so he did. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Sometimes you just have to go. Like, you may not know exactly where you're going, but you do know that you can't be in this place anymore. I can't stay here. So I have to go somewhere. Like, and even if it's a foreign place. In a new season, of course, it's going to be foreign to you. If it's something that you've never done before, somewhere you've never been before, something you've never embraced before, of course it's going to be new. But leaving it all behind, like, that is really the hardest part. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid or an adhesive that's on, like, the hairy part of your arm. Yeah, it's painful at first, but it's for your good. When you're in transition, it's best to continue to remind yourself of the purpose, why you're even doing this in the first place, why this is necessary in the first place. Me personally, this transition literally saved my life, because the things that I was doing, the things that I was involved in, like, eventually would have taken me out. And luckily I knew like I know the destination. Right now it's just a matter of getting there. So I had to fully surrender. I had, like, for real, because a lot of times we say, "Oh God, I surrender," and the song is cute. I surrender all to Jesus. I surrender, all those things. The song is very nice, and we sound very nice singing it, but do we mean it? Do we mean it in our hearts? Are we actually gonna do it? And even when we take the position of lifting, oh, sorry, I hit hit the mic over here. When we really let go, like this position of surrender, when your arms are out, your hands are open. When your hands are open, like I'm a dancer, so movement and positioning is like intentional. Like, so when your hands are open, you're letting go of whatever's in your hands, and like that's surrender. Once you surrender, you can now put your hands in this position to receive, because your hands are freed up. You freed up whatever you were holding on to. So, and again, this is another topic for another day, but when you're in worship, be mindful of the movements that you make. Not saying that there's any like wrong movements, but they are symbolic. But that's another lesson for another day. I'll teach that another day. But movement is symbolic. And since we're talking about surrender, obviously that is surrender, and submission is like the biggest part. It's the biggest part of the beginning of your transition, the beginning of the end. Like, once a season is up, like if God is telling you that a season is up in your life, like sometimes you can just tell on your own. Sometimes you just pick up on it, like you just know. But then there are other times God will tell you, like, yeah, it's time to move. Or however he speaks to you, however he says it to you, he'll tell you that it's time to move. And even if you don't understand, you're not always going to understand what God is saying. And one thing that I heard on another podcast, you might hear what God says, but you may hear what God says, but you might not know what he means. And that's okay. You might not know what he means at the time. But if he says it's time to move, all right, bet. It's time to move. And just, it takes submission. Like, you have to submit and surrender. Like, surrendering your will, surrendering what you want to do. Like I said earlier, I'm a planner. I like to plan things out. I like to have a plan in place, at least a general outline of like what we're doing, where we're going, when we're going. I like to know all the details, and that has been my biggest hindrance, for lack of a better term. That's been my biggest thing walking with God, because I like to know everything, and God doesn't always tell me everything. Actually, he doesn't. He never tells me everything. He'll just give me instructions, and I'm like, okay. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, you don't want me to go there? Cool. Like, or, like, this is what we're doing today. Like, okay, great. And I just go. So that, I would say that would be the beginning of the end of a season. And you just, whether you feel it inside yourself or whether God tells you, and you're, once you're in agreement and you're ready to go, then it's time to move on. Simply put, it is time to move on. And, I would hate for any of us to be like the fig tree, to be, again, in the right place at the right time, but not producing, all because we're stuck on something or someone from the past that we were supposed to move on from. Like, I'm telling you from experience, all it's going to do is cause frustration. All it's going to do is, like, cause you to like, have anger and maybe even resentment. And, it's just, it's not worth it. It's best to just submit and surrender and just, just let go. And it's not always easy. I understand. Definitely understand that it's not always easy, but it's necessary. So, just knowing when to move on and just knowing when it's time to go. I didn't have any actual full notes, I guess. All I had was the definitions and the scripture and things like that. Yeah, I hope, really hope that something I said helped you all. We're gonna go ahead and actually wrap up for today. This was great. I enjoyed myself. I hope that all of you enjoyed this. Whether you tuned in or whether you're coming back and watching the replay, thank you for tuning in. This was great. I will be back with another episode. Again, my schedule is super wonky, so the day and the time, I will be sure to announce that. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you very much for joining me. This was great. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love each and every one of you. And until next time, you all have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to enjoy mine. And yeah, I will see you all next time.